Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and things like that. And it's a Saturday, which means we're going to go a little bit longer than we normally do because I've been cutting the show down to about a half hour more. We'll probably go closer to an hour today. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and then I'm going to get to some of your live questions, but we're going to start off with this. This question came into us from one of my Patreon supporters, Brian Clark, and Brian Clark writes, Moviepass has done it again. They're now restricting access to certain movies regardless of the 2D standard screening rule. To test this, try buying a ticket to Red Sparrow in your area and look how many theaters are blocked out. All but the crappiest screens. Those theaters only restrict Red Sparrow, not Death Wish, etc. Does this meddling spell the beginning of the end for Moviepass? If so, it was fun while it lasted. Cheers. All right, so I have been saying for a while, Moviepass is shady. They are a shady company, in my opinion. I still use the service. I still use the card. I'm more than happy to help them lose money. If they're going to let me get into all these movies for $10 a month, great. I'll take advantage of it as long as I can until they go out of business, if they go out of business. But, you know, they have always, as a business, while the service is great, although apparently they have crappy customer service. I've never had to use customer service, so I don't know that firsthand. But while the service itself, you know, $10 a month for all these movies is fantastic, they have always rubbed me the wrong way of how they conduct their business. Because even back in the day, and I'm giving a little bit of background information here first before we get into the story about Red Sparrow and everything. Back in the day, a couple of years ago, I was on, you know, another movie show I was doing at the time, and, you know, Moviepass saying, we're just doing this because we want to revitalize film going, we want to serve fans. And I said at the time, you know what I think their strategy is? I didn't know this, I was just speculating at the time. But I said, you know what I think their strategy here is? They want to build up a huge amount of users and then use those customers as blackmail leverage against movie theaters to get them to give them a cut of the ticket prices and get them to give them a cut of the concession sales. But that was never anywhere in Moviepass's, you know, documentation. They never said anything about that. They said, no, we're just here to serve movie fans. But then what happened a little bit later on? We find out AMC refuses to give them a cut of their ticket sales or the concession sales. So what does Moviepass do? They cut access to a number of large market AMC theaters for their customers. And I had a number of those AMC customers write to me say, I got Moviepass because I live right next door to this Boston AMC, and they cut the service to it. So that was shady. Just the way they've gone about kind of misleading their own customers. And then the other day, the CEO got on in a very good job by somebody who used to work for me, Jennings Roth Cornett, did a great interview with the CEO. But that CEO is, I mean, in my opinion, I'm sitting there watching, this guy is a lying, deceiving sack of shit. As I'm watching him talk all this talk about, oh, no, we don't want to do that. Oh, we just want to do this and blah, blah, blah. I say, well, yeah, well, your business practices say otherwise. Anyway, so let's get on to this whole thing about Red Sparrow, right? So Moviepass has some restrictions, which is completely understandable. You have to assume there's going to be some restrictions when you're getting $10 a month to go see as many movies as you want. No 3D movies, no premium theaters, not, you know, certain restrictions like that. I've always thought those are perfectly reasonable restrictions. Absolutely. However, as the person points out, this weekend, a whole bunch of people who wanted to go and see the new Jennifer Lawrence movie, Red Sparrow, tried to pull out their Moviepass because, you know, they know that it's going to be in a regular 2D screen, not at a premium theater. It meets all the requirements. And we're going to go and watch Red Sparrow. Except, Moviepass wouldn't let them watch Red Sparrow. They would go to watch it, and this is an image that's been shared around on Twitter a lot in the last 24 hours, and they'd open up Moviepass to get Red Sparrow, and what they ended up getting is, these screenings are not supported by Moviepass. This screening is not supported by, whenever they try to check a Red Sparrow thing, not supported by Moviepass, not supported by Moviepass, not supported by Moviepass. But it was, wait a minute, it's in a theater that's 2D, not a premium theater. You're showing all the other movies. Why this new movie that's opening this weekend are you restricting not letting us go see Moviepass. This is what Moviepass officially had to say about it. The official statement from Moviepass is, we are constantly testing all aspects of our service to optimize the model for theaters, distributors, and members. We occasionally remove some films from our ticketing inventory in some markets for a limited time, similar to how we organically promote films in certain markets to better understand member behavior. That is political double talk. That is political double talk. If you really want to know why, magically, Red Sparrow was dropping off there, like you couldn't, if you were a paying customer of Moviepass and you're at a 2D screen that's not a premium theater, why it won't let you watch Red Sparrow? This is why they wouldn't let you watch Red Sparrow. Because in the days leading up to this opening weekend, Red Sparrow and Death Wish opening on opening weekend, when I would open my phone for the last couple of days, this is the first big thing that pops up. This is their first splash screen. Again, they're Death Wish, go see Death Wish. I got emails from Moviepass saying, go out see Death Wish this weekend. Death Wish, Death Wish, Death Wish. So clearly Death Wish paid Moviepass a bunch of money for promotion. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with paying for promotion. That's what promotion is. That's what marketing is. No problem with them paying for big promotion. So they obviously, Death Wish and the studio behind Death Wish paid Moviepass to get some extra bump, show up on the splash screen of all the customers and stuff like that, get Moviepass to promote Death Wish in their mail blasts. There is nothing wrong with that. And I don't misinterpret me as saying that that's something wrong. Nothing wrong with that. That's just business. That's fine. But it's just kind of coincidental that the other main movie that is opening that weekend, the main movie that is opening up, the wide release film that is opening against Death Wish, which is of course Red Sparrow, you get this screen. So these guys pay you to promote their film, and magically their main competition that's opening up on the same weekend, the customers get this. Give me a break. Nothing wrong with paying for promotion, but now you are screwing your customers. Because you want to promote one film, that's fine. But if part of that promotion, where it gets shady, where it gets underhanded, is when you make a part of that promotion, we are going to take away from our customers the option to go see this other movie. So we're going to try to corral our customers to go see one movie over the other. It's one thing to promote one film. It's another thing to try to screw over another film that won't pay you a cut. Or that won't get into bed with you, won't cut you in on the deal, won't pay you a huge sum of money, whatever. That is underhanded as fuck. And people wonder why I'm constantly saying, this company is shady. I'll use the card for sure. But make no mistake, this Moviepass company is shady. And this whole thing, this whole BS political double talk, it's just, we're constantly testing new aspects of our service. Occasionally we'll do this and blah, 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 blah. That's BS. That is some royal BS. Just call for what it is, Moviepass. Hey, Death Wish paid us. So we're going to undercut this other movie so we can try to promote them. That is terrible. And all it does is it continues on a pattern of this type of behavior. Look, this is a company that isn't even honest to its own customers. They try to lie and mislead their own customers. Remember just a little while ago, there was this whole thing going on where Moviepass put out this big statement, right? They put out this public statement to everybody trying to talk about how big and important they are to movie theaters. This is all when they were trying to blackmail movie theaters into giving them a cut of their concessions, right? So they started to play the PR game and try to win in the court of public opinion. And they put this statement out for people to read. This was Moviepass's claim. Remember this? You guys all read this. We know that we currently represent approximately 62% of AMC's operating income, assuming that AMC is flat year over year. This equates to $34.4 million of gross profits to AMC in the upcoming quarter. On an annualized run rate basis, that's over $135 million to AMC's gross profits. Woo! Well, holy crap, man! Those numbers are huge! Of course AMC should pay them a cut of their concession stands, even though AMC never asked to be in business with Moviepass. Of course course AMC should pay them, blah, blah, blah. Except the problem was this. Those numbers that Moviepass was thrown around were completely deceptive and misleading. Independent third-party news outlets, like The Verge is just one of them, running headlines that Moviepass's claims about its importance to AMC theaters are grossly deceptive. As a matter of fact, people like The Verge and a few other outlets as well took those numbers that Moviepass was touting to their own customers. They did their own analysis, and this is what The Verge came up with. The Verge, as a fact check to Moviepass's claims, wrote this. AMC posted a Q1 2017 admissions revenue of $817.3 million. Using AMC's own projections, its contributions to AMC's revenue would actually amount to just 4.2%. Hardly the windfall the Moviepass statement attempts to project. So Moviepass's whole statement was partly deceptive, partly just fact skewing. It's like, oh, they put in some numbers that are real, but they present it in a way to completely mislead the reader into thinking it's bigger than it is. This is what Moviepass is. This is what they've been doing. And now this whole new thing about all of a sudden, magically, the Red Sparrow, the film that's opening up against the other film that paid you off. Again, nothing wrong with them paying you to promote them. That's perfectly good business. Nothing wrong with that. But, they paid us and you didn't. So not only are we going to promote them, we're going to try to get our customers not to go see your movie by making sure if they try to use our service to see your movie, they're going to get this screen. This is underhanded as fuck. This is a shady, shady, shady company. And all I see is when I watch this CEO of this company, I mean, hey, look, full marks to him. They're trying to do business. I get it. And full marks to him for, some CEOs might just run and hide from it. He got in front of a camera and he did an interview about it. But all I see is a greasy politician. All I see is a greasy, greasy politician. And it's just the way that this company treats their own consumers, uses their customers as bargaining chips, as leverage and blackmail schemes against the theaters, have never been upfront with their audience and their consumers in the first place, and then pull stuff like this. And people wonder why I say this is a shady company. So yeah, you're damn right. I'll keep using the service. It's a good service. I'll use it till they go out of business. Absolutely. I'm more than happy to contribute to Moviepass losing money. I'll go see 8 movies this month using the Moviepass card. I am more than happy to contribute to them losing money. And I'll keep using it until they go out of business. And we'll just see what happens. But anyway, that's my whole thing on that. I'm sure you guys have some thoughts and opinions on this too. And look, it's just disappointing because I was as excited as anybody about this company and really hoping they had a good business model that they could make money legitimately and provide a great service to customers and increase the overall health of the movie community. I thought it was great. But the way they have conducted themselves, and who knows, look, it's never too late to change. Maybe Moviepass looks at themselves in the mirror. Maybe they hear some of this backlash. Maybe they watch this show and they go, you know what? We need to change how we're doing things. Let's take a different approach. Let's be open and transparent with our consumers. Let's be honest with what our business goals and objectives are. Let's not act so shady. And maybe they can find a way to make money and be a good member of the movie community at the same time. If that can happen, that's awesome. And it's early yet. Maybe they'll learn. Maybe they'll change directions. Here's hoping. If they don't, I hope they go out of business really soon. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Christian. And Christian writes, "Hey John, love the show." Thank you so much, Christian. "For the most part, I agree that film is subjective and there's no way to prove your opinion and criticisms of a movie. However, what about technical flaws like seeing the camera's shadow or the boom mic being visible? In 12 Angry Men, in the scene where Henry Fonda is reenacting the old man getting out of bed, you can see the camera's shadow. If it's factually right in front of you, isn't that criticism objective?" Well, okay, thanks a lot for the question, man. But here's the thing, Christian. When I say all film is subjective, we're talking about whether you like or dislike a film, whether a movie is good or whether a movie is bad. There are certain things you can measure. Is a movie in focus? There are objective measurements you can use to tell if a movie is in focus or not. Does a mic boom stand come into shot? That's measurable. You can quantify that. You can verify that information. You can't verify if a joke is funny or not, because some people will laugh, some people won't. It's up to the individual listener. But you can tell if a mic comes in a shot. You can tell if you can see the shadow of a camera on the ground. Yes, 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 yes. However, that's not the part of the same conversation. In the conversation about, are films subjective? Yes. Are there technical elements that can be objectively measured? Yes. But at the same time, you mentioned that scene where you can see the camera shadow. Okay, that's objective. You can see that the camera shadow is in the shot. But what is then subjective is, does that matter? That's subjective. Because I know to a hell of a lot of people who watch 12 Angry Men, it doesn't matter. That didn't affect their enjoyment of the shot, so it doesn't matter. To some people, it may matter. To others, it won't. So that is still subjective. Did it happen? Yes, you can objectively see that. But did it matter? Does it affect the enjoyment of the film? Does it affect whether the film is a good film or a bad film? These are things that get us right back into the whole idea that film is subjective. So yes, a technical aspect can be viewed and measured and determined objectively. But when it comes down to it, does that make the movie good or bad? It's still a subjective thing. So yes, you're right. Absolutely. But at the same time, it's not the same question about whether film itself is subjective to the whole nature of the art and whether audiences like it or not. So that's a totally different issue. But it's a valid point that you bring up. All right, let's move on now to the final email question of the day, and then we'll go over to some live questions from you guys. The final emailed in question today comes to us from Lord Light. And Lord Light writes, I seem to be one of the only few that loved Red Sparrow. I thought it was a fantastic spy thriller, and it clicked with me. My question is, are audiences and critics not connecting with some of these types of films because they lack explosive action sequences? I noticed this happen when Atomic Blonde also focused more on espionage rather than action. So I wonder if slow-paced spy films have a place in our current film culture. I believe slow spy films absolutely do. Now, I watched Red Sparrow. I put up my review for Red Sparrow yesterday. So let me repeat just a few of the things I said in my review. I am one of the people who I don't recommend Red Sparrow. I don't necessarily recommend it. It's not horrible. It's not bad, but it's just too much. And one of the things I said in my review is, slowly paced films are perfectly good. There's a lot of slow paced films, like slow burn kind of films that I really, really like. But there is a difference between slow pace and sluggish. And to me, with Red Sparrow, and by the way, I loved Atomic Blonde. I really, really enjoyed Atomic Blonde for the espionage, the political intrigue of it. It had some killer action sequences, yes, but I liked it more for the overall story and the movie and everything like that. But again, getting back to Red Sparrow, there's a difference between slow pace, because slow pace still, there's a cadence to it. There's a pace to it. You know what I'm saying? Red Sparrow, I did not find that. I found it just to be sluggish and very slow to move. There was no sense of cadence to it for me. I thought it just really got bogged down with a lot of unnecessary material that could have easily been cut out of the film. And just the way they unfolded the narrative to me just wasn't effective. Now, it worked for you, going back to the previous thing about, film being subjective, and that's great. It worked for you. You enjoyed it. That's awesome. That's wonderful. I celebrate that with you. But for me, it was just too mired. It was just too sluggish. It was just not enough going on. They also, I think the movie made a big failure by not getting us emotionally attached to the Jennifer Lawrence character before this whole thing with the Red Sparrow program happened to her. Because I found as everything was going on, I didn't care what side she was on. I didn't care whether she lived or died because I never got attached to her. I just saw her dance once, and that's about it. So I think a lot of the criticisms you're hearing isn't just because, they just didn't like it because there's not a lot of big action sequences and big explosions. That's unfair. I think a lot of people like myself weren't thrilled with it because of its other flaws. But again, they may not be flaws to you. For you, it may have worked. That's great. But I think the reason those other people are saying they don't like it is mostly because of the same reasons I don't like it. But that's just my thought. All right, guys. That will do it for the live email questions, or the live email questions. That'll do it for the email questions today. Now we're going to spend the rest of our time today just diving into your live questions that you're sending in. I'm going to take a sip of my drink here. And a simple way to get your question on, simply use the super chat, put it in. It guarantees your question gets answered. And it also is a good way to support this channel. Now, before I get to the live ones that you guys are sending in right now, I am going to, where did it go? It's hiding over there. I've got a few questions I need to answer that I didn't have a chance to get around to on yesterday's installment of Open Mic. So I need to get to those ones here first. Let me bring it up, and I'm going to try to get it centered here in the screen so you guys can actually read what's going on. There we go. Okay, the first one, if I can get this squared up properly, let's try this. Woo, there we go. Okay, first question came from us from Manuel Fernandez, who writes, thoughts on Dredd, one of my favorite comic book films. I loved Dredd. I was one of the very first, actually I was in the very first public screening of Dredd, and I was there with the cast. I actually got to do the Q&A at the first screening of Dredd at Comic-Con with the cast, me and Carl Urban. I got to do this thing with him up there. I love that film. I think it's an absolute blast. Twygriff writes, thank you, John. That was a lovely response. I can't remember what it was a response to, but obviously it was from yesterday's show. But thank you for that. Ben Rayner writes, I can't understand and get on board with the character Daredevil. Is there a character you can't get on board with? Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like it's all subjective, so certain characters will work for you that don't work for other people and vice versa. For me, one character that a lot of people really like that I don't like, and when people say, we need this character in Justice League, I go, I don't want him. It's Martian Manhunter. I know there's a lot of people who love Martian Manhunter, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on them loving him. But for me, Martian Manhunter is a dumb character. For me. It's not a character that has ever worked for me. I never want to see Martian Manhunter in anything. That's just my opinion, but I know a lot of other people feel differently. But that's one character I don't get on board with. Jacob Jansen writes, have you seen Z Nation on Netflix? If so, thoughts? No, haven't seen Z Nation yet. There's a lot of good stuff on Netflix I haven't had a chance to see yet. Joel321 writes, Gemma Chan in Captain Marvel will be ace. So talented. Well, the one thing about this movie, man, that has got me so impressed is the amount of talent involved with it, both in front of and behind the camera. The number, when you really run down, whether it's the addition of Jude Law, you got an Academy Award winner in the lead, the supporting cast is obviously coming together great. I like the filmmakers they've got together. I am very excited for this movie, and I'm excited to see how it all turns out. Behruz Herulavev writes, huge fan. I think you meant huge. Huge fan. You look the same since 2012. In my opinion, I think you should dedicate one day of the week to strictly movie news. I know you cover them through fan questions. News rundown, though. Thoughts? But here's the thing. Every day I cover every piece of significant movie news that's out that day on the John Campea Show. So all I would be doing is just doing the same thing I'm doing every other day. Like between the main emails, which mostly cover the biggest movie news stories, and then the movie news rundown, which captures everything else that's relatively interesting that day, I'm already kind of covering every bit of interesting or relevant or significant movie news that I think my audience would care about. So it's an interesting idea. The only problem is I'm already kind of doing that every day, so I don't know how that would look any different from what I'm doing otherwise. But it's an interesting idea. Mr. Film writes, great that this era makes cheaper quality projects. I'll disagree with you. Look, the fact of the matter is, this era, more films get made than in any other time in history. That means there are more bad films being made in any other time in history, but it also means there are more really good films being made. We often talk about this in terms of reboots and sequels. Yes, there are more reboots and sequels being made today than any other time in history, but that's because there are more films in general being made. There's also more original film being made today than any other time in Hollywood history. So, no, I don't think so. You can't look at movies with these massive production values and massive talent that goes into them. Are there a lot of bad ones? Yes, but there are some absolutely fabulous ones, Mr. Film. So I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you on that. Cherry Wong writes, do you think Iron Man will die in Infinity War or Infinity War +1? Fake death doesn't count. If not Iron Man, who? Do you think will, or if anyone? Thanks. Waiting for Iron Man 4. I don't think Tony's going to die. I've said that repeatedly. I don't think Tony's going to die. I don't necessarily think anybody needs to die. And people can say, but John, then there's no stakes. No, there's plenty of stakes without heroes dying. There's plenty of stakes. The world, the universe is at stake. There's big stakes. I don't think any of the major characters are going to die. I could be wrong about that. Totally could. I'm not willing to bet $1,000 on that. Not at all. But on the over-under of 50%, will a major character die? I'll take the under. A major character die that's not a fake death? I'll take the under. So no, I don't think he will. And I do think we'll eventually get Iron Man 4. I really do. Because that's an automatic, I think that's an automatic billion-dollar film for Marvel. Rock 4020 writes, have you seen the trailer for The Outlaw Johnny? Black OMG. I'll be honest with you, Rock 4020. I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking there. Have I seen the trailer for The Outlaw Johnny? If that's the name of a movie, then no, I haven't seen the trailer for that yet. Eli the Creative writes, mark my words, live-action anime will be the next MCU films. They suck now, but in 5 to 10 years, when Hollywood has more bankable Asian stars, I disagree completely. Nope, completely disagree. I hope you're right. I really do. But I will 100% disagree with you on that. Not enough people, maybe in your circles, Eli, lots of people appreciate the art of anime. But the wider audience, it's not there. There's more recognized. The reason the MCU and comic book films in general work is because these are names that are recognized, beloved, and have been for generations. Like, you can go to my mom and say, you know who Superman is? Of course my mom knows who Superman is. You go to my cousin who knows nothing about, you know, like anything movie related or anything about, you know, the world of comic books and stuff like that. You know who Wolverine is? Yeah, they know who Wolverine is, blah, blah, blah. You go up to somebody on the street and go, do you know who Akira is? They'll go, who? What? No, it won't be. I hope you're right. I hope you're right, but I completely disagree with you. I do not think it'll be the next MCU films, not even close. I don't even know if they'll be survivable, let alone to an MCU level. So hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully you're right. Let's wait and see how it kind of turns out. Matthew Leach writes, thoughts on Femi Yua's new film gig with Netflix. If you're talking about Black Hole, I'm excited about it. For those of you who don't know, they just announced that they're doing this movie called Black Hole, and it's based on this graphic novel where these kids get this sexually transmitted disease that makes them have mutations. And I think it sounds fabulous. I think it sounds really interesting. This is a guy who was supposed to direct Flashpoint and then left for creative differences. So, and I was really excited to see what he was going to do with Flashpoint. So let's see what he does with his Netflix stuff now. Dirk Diggler writes, thank you, John, for telling it like it is about Fandom on Wednesday. It really is disappointing of hearing and experiencing the failure of the DCEU. Thanks largely to Warner Brothers and Kevin Tsujihara. I mean, look, Warner Brothers is one of the best overall. They are one of the best movie studios in the business. I was just at the Warner Brothers lot, attending a screening there. They are absolutely one of the best businesses out there. The movies they put out are fantastic, mostly. I mean, every studio puts out some good ones. Every studio puts out some bad ones. But they put out some really good product. They have a wonderful organization. I'm a big fan of Warner Brothers. I am critical, though, of how in this one area, their handling of their DCU properties, I have been very critical about how they handle their DCU properties. I don't think they've been handling the DCU properties properly. And I am a fan of Warner Brothers, and I'm a fan of the DC characters, so I want them to do better. I want them to do better. And I just think more people need to understand that that's what needs to happen. But, you know, we'll see how that goes. Thanks a lot for the comment, Dirk. Eli the Creative wrote again, do you think DC fans are selfish because they don't want to reboot the DCEU, or they feel empathy for Zack and the cast, or executive mishandlings of the DCEU? No, here's what I think it is. I think when you're a fan of something, you just kind of maybe tell yourself everything's fine the way it is. Look, I saw Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and I tricked myself into thinking it was okay for the first couple of months. Now, every time I saw it again, and I watched it like 17 or 18 or 19 times, every time I saw it again, I liked it less and less and less and less and less. But I'm a huge fan, so I want to believe everything's okay the way it is. I want to believe that. And I think eventually I just realized, no, that this movie sucks ass. This movie's just terrible. And I learned a big lesson from that experience that I've taken with me for the rest of my film fandom career, right? I think there are some, I don't want to make excuses for why people feel the way they do. I'm just going to say I do probably believe there is a segment of DC fandom that, you know, they're fans of it, so they want to believe everything's okay. I understand that. I think every segment of fandom has a bit of that. I think there's a segment of Marvel fandom that just wants to believe Iron Fist was okay. I think there's a segment of the MCU fandom that just wants to believe that Inhumans was good. It's like, okay, well, okay. Eventually you'll probably come around and realize. But it's unfair to focus out DC fans for that, because I believe that's true of every segment of fandom. I believe we all have bits of that. And it's an interesting observation, though, Eli. Trevor Johnson writes, my Goosebumps line, can't I just keep pretending I'm your son? You are my son. Chills. We were talking the other day about Man of Steel. And to me, one of the lines that people criticize in Man of Steel is when Jonathan Kent, Clark, a young Clark, who had just saved a bunch of kids' lives but exposed his power at the same time, young Clark says to his dad, what, was I just supposed to let them die? And Jonathan Kent pauses, struggles for a second, and says, maybe. There are people who criticize that line. I'm getting chills again, and the hair on my arm is standing up again just thinking about that line. There are people who criticize that line, saying Jonathan Kent is a good man. He would never say that. Wrong. Because he's also a father who loves his son and wants to protect his son. Of course he's a good man. But in that moment, that one line of Jonathan Kent being confronted by that statement from Clark, should I just let them die? He doesn't say yes. He doesn't say no. He reveals the internal struggle that he has as a character about wanting his son to be a good man, but wanting his son to be safe at the same time. And he says the perfect line, which was just one word, and says, maybe. And the way Kevin Costner delivered that line, right here. I mean, it just, that is a brilliant piece of cinema. That scene is freaking brilliant. And I feel my blood boil a little bit when I hear it. All film is subjective, of course it is, but I feel my blood boil a little bit when I hear people actually criticize that line. And I just want to slap my hands over my face and go, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's, to me, that scene, it might be in my top like 20, 25 favorite movie moments ever. That scene is so effing brilliant. Maybe. So much in one word. Oh, anyway. Trevor's seemingly responding to that. He says his Goosebumps line is, can't I just keep pretending I'm your son? And the way Kevin Costner then reveals, you are my son. And the way Kevin, reverberates his voice and everything is just, oh, it's a beautiful moment. I agree. That is a chill moment. That is a really, really great chilling moment. I love that moment. All right, now let's go over to the live stuff that you guys have been sending in here. And we get started off with Mason Barr, who writes, finally finished Waco, was very good. Have you watched it yet? No, Waco, Michael Shannon, Taylor Kitsch, about the David Koresh stuff that went on in Waco, Texas. I have been dying to sit down and watch it. I haven't had time to watch it yet, but these are some fantastic players in there on a riveting, incredible story of a real-life event. I've been dying to watch this thing. I haven't gotten around to it yet, so I'm kind of jealous, Mason, that you've had a chance to watch it already. Chris Miner writes, thoughts on A24? To me, they are hit and miss. Well, every studio, to some degree, is a little bit hit and miss. But they have put out, it is amazing, some of the quality cinema on relatively small budgets that A24 has put out. When you're talking things like Lady Bird, which is one of their big things right now, I've got a list of their films here in front of me right now. The Florida Project was fantastic. The Disaster Artist, obviously, was a wonderful film. Good Time was fantastic. It Comes at Night has a lot of fans in the genre. Where you're talking about American Honey, which I thought was really underrated. Moonlight, which won Best Picture of the Year. 20th Century Women was really good. Not a lot of people saw it, but that one was really, really good. The Green Room with Patrick Stewart was fantastic. The Lobster, which everybody really raves about, is a really good film. I loved The Witch. I thought The Witch was a wonderful, wonderful film. I mean, so yeah, do they also have some misses? Absolutely they do. Ex Machina is another one. Oh, it just goes on and on. They've put out some wonderful films. Do they have some misses? Yes, they do. But I think most studios like that are a little bit hit, a little bit miss. TF writes, where'd TF go? There he is. TF writes, just wanted to say that your knowledge of the movie industry and film has helped me appreciate the art of cinema a lot more. Thanks, John. I appreciate that, TF. I think it's probably more fair to say, look, I'm not going to pretend that I have an expert understanding of the film industry. I think, there are producers and directors who work in the Hollywood system and they are experts. I think I am a little more knowledgeable than maybe the average film fan, but I'm also just really enthusiastic and I have a real passion for it. But thank you for the comment, man. I appreciate that. DA298 writes, what can HBO do differently next year to prevent Game of Thrones from being leaked? Been an issue the last few seasons and was annoyed when I saw huge spoilers online. Dude, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what they can do. I don't know how every movie and TV show doesn't end up online. In the digital age, where everything is electronic now, and every single human being walks around, well, not every single human being, but most people walk around with a global communication digital device, a cell phone, in their pocket, that is a multimedia device that can record, shoot, film, transmit information all over the world at the snap of a finger. It is amazing to me so much stuff is able to be kept secret. So from an IT security point of view, man, I just don't know what they can do differently. Because I don't even know the underlying fundamentals of how they got leaked in the first place. I just know that they got leaked. So what can they do to prevent it? I don't know, man. But I hope they're able to tighten up their security. I really do. Because those spoilers getting out is just toxic to fandom. Manuel Fernandez writes, sorry if you were confused with part of my Nick Cage question yesterday. Oh, no problem, Manuel. I was asking, what's your favorite classic Cage performance? The hilarious, over-the-top Nick Cage. We all love Wicker Man, Face Off, Vampire's Kiss. Well, you got one in there right there, which is Face Off. Face Off. And the other movie I mentioned is his portrayal of Big Daddy in Kick-Ass. Now, I'm not going to say Kick-Ass is one of the best films Nick Cage has ever been in. Nick Cage has done Academy Award-winning films. But what he did, I believe Big Daddy was the heart and soul. And one of the things that I really missed about Kick-Ass 2, because they did almost everything else as good as they did in Kick-Ass 1. So why did so many of us not like Kick-Ass 2 as much as we like Kick-Ass 1? Because there was a Big Daddy-shaped hole in the heart of Kick-Ass 2. You could just feel Big Daddy being missed and what Nick Cage brought to that first movie. But other than that, him playing Caster Troy or the other guy because of the face-off thing, face off, face off, face off. I love that movie. I adore that movie. It's funny because me and Migdalia the other day, for some reason I keep on wanting, when I'm talking to Miggy as she goes by, sometimes I will accidentally throw a name because I know somebody else, I knew of somebody else named Migdalena with an N, but it's Migdalia is her name. So I get that wrong sometimes. Anyway, we were talking about that the other day and Face Off came up. So I just adore that film, man. I really do. Micah T writes, are you excited for Legion Season 2? I am. Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to it coming back. I hated the premiere episode of the first one. For those of you who don't know, I watched the premiere episode of Legion. I thought it sucked. I didn't like it at all. I mean, Ann and I both watching. We were both like, this is just dumb. And then about 2 months later, I kept having a bunch of you guys telling me, John, get back on board with it. Try it again. Just get back on board with it. You'll be glad that you did. So fine. So I started watching by the end of episode 3, I was like, okay, I'm on board. And then I really liked the rest of the season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that coming back. Duante Winston writes, sup, John? I was wondering, since Infinity War is less than 2 months away, do you think we'll be getting another trailer soon? Well, I mean, the movie's only 2 months away. So soon? Yeah, anytime it comes out between now and within the next 2 months. We're definitely getting a new trailer within the next 2 months. Yeah, I'm going to guess we'll probably get a trailer probably within the next week and a half. I think within the next 10 days, we will probably get another trailer. Woo, had to sneeze there. Sorry. I believe we're going to get another trailer. So yeah, I do think we're going to get another one soon. But I have heard nothing official about when it may come. I've heard rumors, but I don't think the rumors are very substantial. But I got to believe it's going to be soon. Let's see. Oh, I lost Matthew. Where'd Matthew go? Holy crap, there are a lot of questions here. There's Duante. Oh, that's another one from Duante. Oh, dear heavens. A whole ton of questions have come in. Okay, guys, listen. If you have not put in a super chat question yet, cut it off. No more super chat questions. I don't know how I'm going to get through all of these as it is. Okay, so let's keep going with this. This next one comes to us from Matthew Carrera, who writes, A Quiet Place is one of my most anticipated this year. Before the screening, they should have giant signs saying, no babies, no talking, no loud snacks. I'm going to disagree with you on that. You know my belief. I believe we should not ban babies. Why? Because for every one time a baby actually cries in a theater, 10 times babies stay absolutely quiet and fine. You only notice the times that babies cry. So it's unlikely to happen. And then even if it does cry, mom can carry them out. No loud snacks? You kidding me? Shut up. I love my popcorn at my movies. I'm eating my popcorn at the movies. So you're just going to have to deal with it. I love eating my popcorn, no loud snacks. I don't mind loud snacks. I know for some people, loud snacks bother them. I don't know why it does. I mean, I totally respect that it does to some people. For me, loud snacks do not bother me in the least. To me, it just makes it feel more like it's a big event. We're all at a big event and we're watching it. So it's never been something that bothers me, but I completely agree with you, man. I just saw the newest trailer for A Quiet Place. I was already looking forward to this movie. I'm now really excited for it. I'm totally with you on that. I am so stoked for this movie. I can't wait to see what John Krasinski does with it. It looks fascinating to me. It looks chilling. It looks creepy. So yeah, I'm totally on board with this movie. I can't wait to see it. Brandon Torres writes, the heads of DCEU are morons. Rebooting wouldn't change that. And the movies would still bomb. They should just stop entirely as long as WB owns DC. This is the same company that put out the Christopher Nolan films. So what? Like, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, we had bat nipples, right? We had bat nipples and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze, and glowing neon, Robin outfits and blah, blah, blah. They butchered and they killed Batman. Okay. So what were we going to do when they're coming out with this new one called Batman Begins? Where we're going to say Warner Brothers has already shown they don't know what they're doing. They can't do anything right, blah, blah, blah. If we did that, then we never would have gotten Batman Begins. We never would have gotten The Dark Knight, which some people think is the best comic book movie ever made. We wouldn't have gotten that trilogy. So just because, and remember, there are no heads of the DCEU. By the way, there is a brand new head of the DCEU. Hamada is the brand new head of the DCEU. So they've got a brand new head guy. And Warner Brothers as a studio has constantly put out like Academy Award winning films. So just because they've blown a couple of things doesn't mean they can't change their strategy and come out and do something that's great. Change a few pieces, come out and do something great. There are NHL hockey teams that had terrible, terrible teams for years, but they changed some pieces, but all the owners stayed the same and whatever. They changed some pieces and then they won Stanley Cups. We can't just sit there and think, okay, they didn't do a good job with their first, outing, their first strategy with the DCEU didn't work. That means it'll never work. We can't think like that. All they got to do is change some pieces, move some things around, abandon one strategy that didn't work, and try starting fresh with a new strategy, and it absolutely can work. It absolutely can. So, I disagree with you, Brandon, on this notion that since they did this wrong, that means they can never do it right. I disagree with that entirely, especially since they have a brand new head of the DCEU projects and properties. So let's see what happens. I think they should reboot. Obviously, I think they should reboot. But even if they don't reboot, let's continue to give it a chance and see what happens if they don't. But, we'll just have to wait and see. Matthew Correra writes, hey, John, love the channel. Who's your favorite director of all time? Mine is Tarantino, 8 films, and he hasn't made a bad one yet. I would argue with you a little bit that one on Hateful Eight. I did not like Hateful Eight. But for the most part, he's great. Tarantino's wonderful. To me, it's no question. It's Steven Spielberg. No one in the history of film has ever come close to Steven Spielberg. Spielberg is he's the bar by which every other director will be measured. Nobody has made as many great films as him in every genre conceivable. Like, guys like Tarantino, who is awesome, and I cannot wait for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm so excited about that. He's great, but he's got like one lane on the highway that all of his films are kind of like, this is a Quentin Tarantino movie. He's got like one lane in the highway, and he just stays within those kind of borders, and he makes great films in that one lane. Steven Spielberg can drive any lane, any direction on any highway. I mean, he's made comedy, he's made sci-fi, he's made period pieces, he's made real life adaptations, he's done animation, he's done whatever, and he does it all with incredible excellence. He can tell any type of story anytime. So yeah, to me, Steven Spielberg, no question to ask. Any day of the week, it's Steven Spielberg to me. All right. Let's move on here. The Little Nerdy Birdie. I love that name. That's great. Watching from work today. Bring on the filthy. I love it when people tell me they're watching from work. I feel a little bit guilty about it, but I love it when people tell me they're watching from work. Thanks so much, man. Charlie Zakari writes, ended my Moviepass last week due to the theater removals. And I think you're one of those people. Yeah, they probably removed one of the theaters that was close to you, which was one of the reasons you signed up for them in the first place. And then here's the other thing that Moviepass did. When they pulled those theaters, they didn't give their Moviepass members any advance notice. None. Even like I was a subscriber for DirecTV Now, so I could, because I'm a cable cutter, but I got their streaming service so I could watch live television on my Roku, right? Whenever they were making changes, I always got emails from them like 2 weeks in advance. Like, hey, like one of the channels was being removed. They would send me an email like 2 weeks in advance saying, hey, just so you're aware, with the changing nature of contract stuff like that, our contract with this channel is expiring. It's not going to be part of our service anymore. We apologize for any inconvenience. We hope that these new things that we have coming will come, blah, blah. But they let us know. Moviepass took out a number of big market theaters that they knew a bunch of their customers lived near and probably used their card to go there, and gave their customers no advance notice. They just snuck in like a thief in the middle of the night, pulled the service to those theaters, and only let the fans find out about it, only let their customers find out about it after it was already done. Just another reason that this is a shady, shady company. Sorry to hear about your experience, Charlie. Chris Bradford writes, by the way, the Mark Riley was a reference to the Schmoedown. If you're okay, so what happened earlier is that somebody I understand they were just trying to be funny, but it wasn't funny at all. Somebody came in and put in on a super chat that it's one of the only times I've ever deleted a super chat. Put in a thing saying R.I.P. Mark Riley with sad face, and I knew what it was referencing, but I deleted that because that is how rumors get started. And all I can think of is for a second, somebody who knows Mark Riley seeing that, not knowing what they had, and just the hurt and pain that would cause seeing that. So it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. That's why I removed it. Hopefully you learned a lesson, because that's just not cool. That's just not cool. Sujith writes, I like fictitious cities in superhero stories than real ones. Allows for more creative freedom and varied interpretations. Gotham is a case study for that. Your thoughts? I honestly don't find any difference. You're not the only one, Sujith. I've heard this conversation brought up before by certain people who, should, like comic book movies, use real cities, real world, or kind of create a little bit of an alternate world, having Metropolis, having Gotham, having, things like Star City or whatever, as opposed to Marvel, which uses like real cities and stuff like that. I don't know that it really makes any difference one way or the other, to be honest with you. I don't think it stopped Marvel from having big things happen. There's an alien invasion in New York City. So I don't really think there's a big difference there. I don't think they've allowed it to tie their hands creatively any more than, say, a DC who will use fictitious names of cities that their action takes place in. So I think they're both fine. I think having fictitious cities is perfectly good. Nothing wrong with it. I think using the names of real cities is perfectly good. Nothing wrong with it. So I really haven't seen a creative impediment to either side, whether they're using real cities or made up cities. I just haven't seen it affect them negatively in either way. Ike O writes, heard about the Flamin Hot Cheetos movie. Yes, so there is a movie coming. The movie rights have now been won. I can't remember the name of the gentleman. I knew it before, but I forgot now. There's this guy, for those of you who may not have heard of this, who, son of immigrant workers, he was a high school dropout, and he started working at Frito-Lay as a janitor in Frito-Lay. And then what happened was one of the machines that puts the cheddar powder on the Cheetos broke down. And this janitor had this idea of putting chili powder on the Cheeto instead of the cheese powder. And a few people tried it and loved it. And now you have Flamin Hot Cheetos. And they are making a movie about this. And this guy is now like the head of international marketing or something like that. This guy got promoted up through the company for the idea. It became a multi-billion-dollar idea. And they're making a movie out of this. And I'm actually looking forward to it. These little, rags to riches, out of nowhere, momentary things where an idea happens and it becomes this big thing. And it takes somebody from that you wouldn't think is going to make it big in the world, and they can make it big in the world. I love these types of stories, so I'm looking forward to that. Suji then writes, have you seen the so-called first draft of the Prometheus script shown on YouTube, which sheds more light on the engineers and who they were? Nah, I don't get all that interested, unless it's like a DC thing or a Marvel thing. Or a Star Wars thing. I generally don't get interested in, there were these alternate things. Alternate things just means the things that aren't real. Whatever didn't make it into the movie, didn't make it in the movie. The movie is all that matters to me. I mean, to a lot of people, it does matter. So no, I haven't seen that. I haven't looked into that one at all. Phil Lee writes, is Jackass a comedy or a documentary? No script or plot, just a camera documenting event stunts. I would say comedy. Because like you said, the movie, it's all planned, right? It's all planned. So I would say comedy, but Phil, you raise a very legitimate point. I think there is legitimately a debate to be had about whether you can call it a documentary. My first thought, and maybe I'd change my mind if I thought about it a little bit longer. My first thought is no, it's not a documentary. It is most definitely a comedy. But you raise a good point, and it's something that could be debated. Nice observation there. Eric DeRigi writes, did you know Sony has the movie rights to Valiant, Bloodshot, and Harbinger comics? Why are they sitting on those properties? Because they don't believe they believe it would cost a lot of money, and they don't know that a lot of people would come out and watch them. It's just that simple. There are people who are fans of properties and think everybody would come out and see this if you made this. Not necessarily. And believe me, if a studio has a property and they think they can make money on it, they will rush it into production. But they do tons of research and get people researching this stuff and to do reports on the marketability of certain properties and can they work. And right now, they just don't feel like a Bloodshot or a Harbinger could survive. And I've heard them making attempts. I've heard about things going into development. But I guess at this point, they just don't feel like in a market where you've got Justice League and you've got the Avengers and you got all this stuff and you got X-Men, that maybe these characters can't actually do it. So that's probably why. And I think a lot of people get caught up in, well, I know this property and I would like to see it. That means everybody will. And that's not necessarily the case. So who knows? I mean, maybe they'll decide, hey, the market is now ready to have new unknown kind of heroes that we can put, $400 million into to make this thing happen, counting marketing and everything. But right now, they just don't think it can make money. That's why they haven't done it. If they think it can make money, they would rush that thing into production. Absolutely. Score Geek writes, Red Sparrow was cool, funny, and sexy, man. I didn't find it sexy. I know it tried to be sexy. I didn't find it sexy. It was kind of cool. I'll give you that. Funny? I didn't find it all that funny either. So, but hey, you did. And that's the subjective nature of movies, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. James Welsh writes, would you like to see a Jeff Bezos, the Amazon founder, biopic and his rise to becoming the world's richest man? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know what his story is. Like, I don't know that I would just want to see him punching numbers and then eventually slowly growing his business. I don't know. I don't know if there's a story there to tell. Like the story about the guy who came up with the Flamin Hot Cheetos and now he's like this big executive of Frito, billion-dollar idea coming from sons of immigrant workers, starting as a janitor in that company, working with up. Like there's a story there. I just don't know if there's a story there with the Amazon founder. I have no idea if there's an interesting movie there to watch. So if I knew a little bit more about him, maybe then I'd have a stronger opinion. Ali Hussein writes, the problem with Arrow is the trust story. is dumb and annoying. Oliver reasons make sense, not the others. I'll be honest, yeah, I keep up with Arrow. This whole trust story and them breaking them into two separate teams, dumb. Absolutely dumb. And it's all this other team, this team with Mr. Terrific and Black Siren and Gun Boy. Because that's all he does is he shoots guns. And Gun Boy, what do they call him? Hound, something dog, wreck dog, gun dog. Let's just call him Gun Dog. It's stupid as hell. Because they are wrong. And it's just clear to see that they're wrong. And I tuned in to watch this latest episode of Arrow, just wanting to see Oliver go in there and just kick all their asses and beat the shit out of all of them. And say, get in line or get out. Get out of my city. Because you're just going to get in my way here. If you're not going to use some common sense. And it is a stupid storyline. And I'm not enjoying it at all. So anyway, I agree with you. I agree with you completely. Let's see. Henry Stevens writes, John, I just made a small opinion about The Last Jedi in favor of it on a forum room. I got blasted and accused of everything under the sun. Thoughts? It's toxic fandom. It's toxic fandom. So, I mean, that's what it is. People, there are so many places why that you can't be one thing or the other. People have developed these very small-minded neighborhoods, if you will, in their fandom. That in this fandom, we hate DC. And you're not allowed to come in here and say anything positive about DC. In this fandom, we only love DC. You can't come in here and see anything critical about DC. In this room, we only hate Star Wars Last Jedi. In this room, we only love Star Wars Last Jedi. And it's toxic fandom. You find it everywhere on both sides of the aisle. And we need to fix this. We need to fix this because we're killing online film fandom. Having people like that and who do stuff like that is killing online film fandom, and it needs to stop. Sujith writes, do you think Marvel should give Iron Man a hero's death in Infinity War like Logan? In my opinion, they've stretched the IP far. Let him go out on a high rather than fading him off with fan disinterest over time. Nope, completely disagree. James Bond's going on his 25th film, by the way. And James Bond is more successful today than he's ever been in history. Going on his 25th film. So I don't feel any waning in interest in Iron Man. I think you can keep that character going for much longer. So no, I don't think they should do that. David Fielding writes, think they will militarize the dinosaurs in Jurassic World. Well, they kind of introduced that theory, right? In the first Jurassic World. I do think that will either be a plot point in this film or in the third one. They've already talked that they're already putting the third one together. They're already kind of developing the third one. I do think that will be part of it. It might even be part of it in this one. But if not this one, then I definitely think the next one. So I do think they'll probably at some point head in that direction, David. So I think you and I are on the same page in that. James B. writes, hey, John, heard you mention interest in seeing George Washington portrayed on screen. David Morris. Oh, that's right, he did. David Morris played him in HBO's John Adams miniseries, the one with Paul Giamatti, on Google Play for $25. And if you might be saying, why is it $25? Because it's a full series. It's not just like a one-shot movie. You're right. He did portray him. Now, again, though, that was about John Adams. That was Paul Giamatti's thing. And I love David Morris. You guys hear me talk about David Morris all the time. Most underrated actor in Hollywood. I've been saying that for 10 years. I still believe it. But you're right. I totally forgot about that portrayal. But again, it's not his story. I wouldn't mind seeing just a Steven Spielberg directed Washington, just about George Washington. I think that would be great. But thank you for bringing that up, James. That's a really good example to bring up. Benjamin GL writes, let's see, where am I here? Okay, yeah, I'm almost out of time. Benjamin GL writes, hey, John, thoughts on the app Stardust? I think it would be cool. No effort addition to your channel. Thanks, and bring on the filthy. I will tell you guys something right now. But don't sign up for Stardust yet. I'm going to be completely open and transparent with you guys here, okay? Completely open and transparent. Benjamin, it is really interesting that you're bringing that up right now. Because 2 days ago, Stardust contacted me about becoming a sponsor for the YouTube channel. And I'm going back and forth with them right now. I am considering it. And the one thing I thought that would be interesting if I did on the John Campea shows, like maybe 2 days a week on the John Campea show, is do like a 3-minute segment called What Are You Watching? And it would be a 3-minute segment where I would take Stardust posts, because Stardust is an app where you do 3 to 30-second reactions to a TV show episode, a trailer, or a movie, right? And I've been thinking about doing like a 3-minute segment twice a week on the John Campea show saying, what are you watching? Because one of the things I love about the live chats that you can see right here is that a lot of times people say, hey, have you ever watched this? And sometimes it's something I've never even heard of, and it puts it on everybody else's radars, because then like a week later, somebody else writes to me and say, hey, about a week ago, somebody on your show said, have you ever watched X? And I hadn't, and I went and checked it out, and I really loved it. And I love that. So I'm thinking about, if I can work out a sponsorship deal with Stardust, I'm thinking about creating on my show a What Are You Watching? A little 3-minute thing where you guys can talk about a television episode, a trailer, or a movie you just watched that you would recommend for people to check out. And I'm thinking about doing that. So, but here's the thing. Part of the deal, this is why I'm saying don't sign up for it yet. I'm just being completely open and transparent with you guys, okay? Is that one of the things about the sponsorship deal would be like, I would get like $1 for every person on my channel that clicks the link on my channel and goes and signs up for Stardust. So now I'm sitting here saying, hey guys, I might be going into a sponsorship deal with them yet. Don't download the app yet. Wait till they're a sponsor of mine, then go download the app. I'm being completely transparent with you, 100%. But it actually looks like a really cool app. And I will probably end up using it even if I don't work out a sponsorship deal with them, to be frank with you. But they've been great to deal with. I think they have a very quality app. Let's see if they become one of the sponsors of the show, which would be kind of interesting if they do. Duante Winston writes, since Captain Marvel is set in the past and it introduces the Skrulls in the film, do you think that they will play a major role in the MCU after Avengers, possibly setting up Secret Invasion? I'm not so sure about that. A friend of mine and I were talking about that specifically a couple of weeks ago. And honestly, I think they'll probably use them for a few plot hooks here and there, but you can't use them too much. And I don't think they'll become a major thing, like across all the different titles and stuff like that. I don't think they'll go that direction. I could be wrong, but I just don't think they're going to go in that direction. So we're really just going to have to wait and see how they decide to use all that. All right, guys, I've run out of time. That will do it for me for today. Apologies to all of you guys who have super chat questions in there that I haven't gotten around to. I will make a second video today. I will make a special video today just getting to your questions that have not been asked yet. So I will get to those today. Also, a little bit later today is my Oscar prediction video. Me predicting, and you're going to see how many I'm going to get wrong. It's probably going to be a lot of them. But doing my Oscar predictions for the big Oscar thing tomorrow. And don't forget, guys, tomorrow, watch the Oscars with me. I'm just going to pop open my laptop and I'm just going to live stream me watching the Oscars and doing commentary. I'm going to take your live questions and your live comments and read out your live comments as the show is going on. So join me for the Oscars tomorrow. That should be a lot of fun. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks so much for joining me today. Again, here on the John Campea Show on the weekends, we tend to do more user questions and stuff like that. I'm a little more informal on the weekends. Then back on Monday, we'll get right back to the news-heavy stuff. It'll be about 35 minutes long, and we'll be right back to that regular thing. So that'll do it for me, guys. Thanks for joining me. My name is John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.